It is our pleasure to be joined by a man that does a tremendous job of covering the NBA for ESPN. You can catch him on the Hoop Collective, one of my go-to podcasts. Tim MacMahon is in the house. Timmy back, how we doing, buddy?
Howdy, partners. It is a pleasure. I was wondering if you guys were ever going to invite me. I guess you had to wait until the Thunder made the playoffs. That must be what happened here. It's been a while.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we had to rebuild a little bit, regroup, go back to the drawing board, but we're back, baby.
I think you'll be back for a while.
Yeah.
Tim, I think there's only one place to start. Do you agree with Shannon Sharp or not? The weakest one seed. I
mean, come
cannot
on.
explain how fired up the fan base is by that clip. It had everyone around here very upset.
Well, I guess that makes it good TV. I'm not sure it's a great opinion. Hey, West was tough this year. I don't see how you can be the weakest number one seed ever when there's 10 teams above 500 in the conference. I think the Thunder would like to be considered the weakest number one seed ever. I think that, I remember I'm up there in October in preseason. I don't know if we're going to be able to make a jump. It's all you heard around the organization. We just got to finish our breakfast. That whole thing of press deal. Hell, we don't need expectations to get too high. Now, they didn't make another 16-win jump. They made a freaking 17-win jump. And you know what this means? They are mathematically on pace to win 75 games next season. You heard it here first. The Oklahoma City Thunder, simply by math, I'm going out on the limb with the prediction. They're winning 75 games next year, baby.
Well, I don't know about the weakest one seed ever, but I do have my questions,
Yeah.
and we've seen it over the duration of the NBA. There's a difference between regular season and playoff. There's the old, you've got to earn it type of situation. Like, what do you think? Like, if there are shortcomings for the Thunder, where there's a difference between regular season and playoff, what do you think that those could be?
Well, I'll start with this. Obviously, this is a team that has precious little playoff experience. The vast majority of the playoff experience on the roster is sitting at the end of the bench in Bismack Biyombo and Mike Muscala. Shai's got a couple of series. Lou Dort's got a series. Hayward, who's not much of a contributor, has got some. I'll be honest with you, though, I don't really sweat the playoff experience because of the kind of demeanor and the personality, the character of this team. This is not a team. This is not the Memphis Grizzlies of the last few years. That's an extremely, kind of roller coaster type of team. This group is even keel. I don't think they're going to be rattled. Now, if you want to talk about just basketball concerns, they are small. And where they're tall, they're skinny, obviously. And so is rebounding a concern? Absolutely. And, Thunder folks can pull, if you look at the last X amount of games, they rank this in rebounding. Rebounding is absolutely a concern. And look, let's just be straight up. The Lakers winning in the play-in, I'm sure that, I don't think the Thunder were like dressed up in Laker girls' uniforms and waving pink and or purple and gold pom-poms. But I don't think they're disappointed to see the Lakers win because the Lakers were a very tough matchup. AD, LeBron, them playing big with Rui Hachimura, but AD and LeBron in particular really beat up and bullied the Thunder this season. So not having to deal with the Lakers in the first round, I would have still picked the Thunder to win the series, but I wouldn't have been comfortable with that. I would have picked like Thunder in 7. So I do think they avoided what would have been a really tough first round matchup. But again, just they are a small team, and they deliberately chose to be small because they figured, okay, we're going to have a weakness in rebounding, but playing the lineup they thought created a ton of other strengths. And they ended up being right. They won 57 games.
Looking at the Thunder and what they've accomplished and the way that they've done it this season, Tim, what has really impressed you the most about what they've done from a basketball standpoint?
I mean, you have to start with the obvious. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, everybody thought he was a really good prospect who was coming off a second team all-rookie campaign, a nice rookie campaign when they got him. Nobody thought this guy was going to be what looks like he's going to be a perennial first team All-NBA player. Certainly a deserving MVP candidate. He's not going to win MVP this year, but is a deserving candidate. So, you start there. I mean, that's just been they have, if you're picking who do you want to build around over the next 10 or 15 years, you don't get very far in that conversation before Shai's name comes up. And, you have to start there. Plus, he's just, again, we get back to the personality. He's the perfect personality to build around, especially in a market like Oklahoma. He's like Sam Presti's dream. Honestly, as great as Jalen Williams has been, the thing that has been really, really impressive has been Chet Holmgren and the impact that he's had. And you watched that team last year, and you knew the future was bright because you saw Shai, you saw Jalen Williams emerging as one of the best rookies in the league last season. You saw some of the other contributors, guys like Isaiah Joe, and so on and so forth. But you said they need rim protection and they need more shooting. And here comes this number 2 overall pick who had to sit out all of last season, who instantly majorly addressed their 2 biggest needs. And the thing about Chet, and he just proved it by playing all 82 games, and that's something that was really important for him because he wanted to prove that he's a competitor, he's a tough dude. This is a guy who had to sit out last season, hear about how fragile he is after never missing a game or practice in high school or college. He had something to prove there, but he is obviously a guy who occasionally will get pushed around by some of the behemoths in the NBA. He will never get intimidated. And I think his toughness also really helped this team.
You mentioned the one flaw, the lack of size maybe that they've got matchup wise. Like this year in the playoffs, the way things maybe look like they're going to unfold, what's like the worst matchups for them that you see that could unfold?
I mean, the worst matchup for anybody in the Western Conference is the defending champs, right?
Yeah.
And I know they won 3 out of 4 against the Nuggets this year. I don't necessarily put just a ton of stock in regular season results looking at a playoff series. I don't care who you are. Joker is going to be an absolute load to handle. And I don't like Chet's odds of being able to contain him enough in a series for the Thunder to win that series. And if they do end up matched up with Joker, I do think we'll see a lot of the Jalen Williams paired with Holmgren, just so they can kind of put Chet in a situation where he can not have to be the primary defender on Joker, be able to be more of a help defender. But, that's a tough matchup. And it's nothing against Chet. We watched Joker last year. He kicked Anthony Davis's ass. He kicked Bam Adebayo's ass. Those are 2 of the biggest, baddest centers in the league. So, that's the one. That's the one team I don't think that the Thunder can beat in a series this season. Now, I anticipate that I'll be in Oklahoma City for the second round. And, well, I'm going to be there probably regardless whether the Mavs beat the Clippers or not. But I anticipate that I'll be there covering Mavs Thunder. And I think that's going to be one hell of a series. And the Mavericks are tough, man. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I thought they were going to be this good after the trade deadline. I didn't especially love those deals. I love the Gafford deal for the Thunder because they were getting 2028 swap rights. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to take an L on that opinion because obviously the bet there was things aren't going to work in Dallas. Luka might be leaving, and 2028 swap rights could be a Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum type of swap. Luka's awfully happy, and Gafford's been a major impact player. But Luka and Kyrie in a series, surrounded by athletes who have fit well. This team, the Mavs, have been the number 1 defense in the league for the last quarter of the season, shockingly. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. And obviously Lou Dort on Luka, probably J-Dub on Kyrie. Derek Jones Jr. would be the primary defender on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it would be one hell of a fun series.
There's a lot being made of the Thunder's inexperience in the playoffs when it comes to the players.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear a lot about Mark Daigneault's inexperience coaching in the playoffs. Is that a thing? Is that something that needs to be brought up more, or is Daigneault just such a good coach that everyone is looking past that, Tim?
Well, the other thing is, even though he's going to be the coach of the year, your casual fan still has no idea who he is. I mean, that's a great story, actually, because he has obviously proven himself to be an elite coach. He just won the Coaches Association Coach of the Year. Pretty certain he's going to win the one that the media votes on. And this is a guy who, when the Thunder hired him, he'd been the G League coach, promoted from assistant, obviously. I'll be honest with you, I'd never heard of him. So I Googled him. And you know what the first link that popped up was? To his LinkedIn account. That's how anonymous he was. And I brought that up to him this fall. And he kind of laughed and said, listen, I can still go grocery shopping. Now, I don't know if that's still the case after a 57-win season, but no, you don't hear a lot about his inexperience. And I do think it's because there's so much respect for him, and just, I mean, he is clearly proven not only is he capable of handling his job, but this guy is a wizard. And he's a lot of times the coaches stuff, you focus on the X's and O's, and he's obviously great at that. To me, the most important thing in NBA coaching is culture. And as much as the Thunder culture makes me yawn, finish our breakfast and run through the finish line and all these things.
Eat your vegetables, Tim. Eat your vegetables.
But I give Mark D credit and I give Sam Presti credit, because I think it's difficult to get young players to buy into what might be considered mundane and boring. But man, the Thunder are 100% on board, and obviously they're seeing that it works. They're seeing that it's successful. So I give him a lot of credit for that, and I also give Shai a lot of credit, because I think the biggest factor in the culture of a franchise is going to be your superstar, and he absolutely embodies that stuff.
Is there anyone that the makeup of the Thunder and how they play, is there anyone that they remind you of? Right, whenever you see the way they play, and maybe a team that was young once and they grew up. I don't know. It's just, that's usually how I try and compare teams and look at things, is who do they remind me of?
You mean like the previous youngest team ever to win 55 games, which is another edition of the Oklahoma City Thunder. So style of play, not really, just because the style of play has changed so much in the NBA. And we've never seen guys like Chet Holmgren until recently, and even he's even unique. I'm actually working on a story about kind of this new modern day rim protecting, floor spacing center, and he's blown the top off of that, obviously, along with Victor Wembanyama. So stylistically, the league has changed so much that they don't remind me of anybody. But I do think that similarly to the previous edition of the Thunder, they have a legitimate big three. Now, I don't know that all three of these guys are going to win MVPs. Like that's probably not going to happen. But I think they've got a legitimate big three that really fits well together, complements each other, enhances each other, and you have hope of building around this group for the next decade. So in that sense, they do remind you a little bit of that previous Thunder team.
Thunder won't know their opponent until Friday night after the Pelicans and Kings play. Who do you think the Thunder want in round one?
I mean, honestly, probably the Pelicans. And that, again, we don't have a Zion update beyond he's getting an MRI, but that's being pessimistic about what that news might be. The Pelicans without Zion, let's be honest with you, that's not a very scary foe. Brandon Ingram is fresh back off the injury, really struggling, was benched for the fourth quarter last night. Having said all that, you can hope for one thing, and the odds are, for all those reasons I just stated, that they're going to get the Sacramento Kings, which will be an interesting series. Sabonis is definitely a guy who can feast on the boards and get his shoulder into Chet and be a difficult matchup there. I would like the Thunder in that series, and I'd like them in 5 or 6.
Who in the West you think that maybe isn't getting talked about enough that could maybe creep up on some people, maybe make a surprise run?
Well, we can't rule the Warriors out yet because I work at ESPN. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know about not getting talked about, but the Suns are interesting, and I think it broke pretty well for them. Again, I don't put too much stock in the regular season results, but they did sweep that series against the Timberwolves, and obviously the last game of the season had a playoff type of feel because Minnesota, that cost them the difference between a 2-3 seed and a 3 seed. And, I don't think Minnesota was really excited about the prospects of facing the Suns in a series. The stuff about Gobert not being suited for playoff defense, honestly, is primarily a bunch of bull crap. I covered him closely. I know the coaching staff from those Jazz teams very well. They all think that narrative is absolutely ridiculous. One thing about Gobert, though, is a good way to beat any center who's in drop a lot is the mid-range game. And obviously, when you talk about Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, those are two of the best mid-range shooters in the league. And, all season long with the Suns, you're kind of waiting for them to get any kind of momentum going. They're dangerous just because they do have 2 of the top 10 scorers in the league. And then Bradley Beal, I don't know where you put him on the list, but a heck of a number 3. So I think you at least have to look at the Suns and say, if their guys get hot, they can get on a roll.
When you look at the West, 3 of the matchups are just, it's ridiculous, right? Phoenix and Minnesota, Dallas and the Clippers, and then the Lakers and Nuggets. Tim, when you look at those 3, which one do you think is going to be the shortest series?
Lakers Nuggets. They played last year. How long did that one last?
They were really competitive, though.
Most competitive sweep in NBA history. The bronze broom will always fly in the rafters of the building formerly known as the Staples Center. Look, maybe the Lakers pull off an upset and get a game in that series. Again, I just think that the Nuggets are that much better than the Lakers. And look, I think the Nuggets might be that much better than anybody in the Western Conference. And I know where they are in the seeding. I get all that. I don't know that anybody's taking the Nuggets to 7 in the West.
How do you think they compare to some of the, I don't know if we want to say dynasties, but teams that have had really impressive runs over, a short number of years?
Yeah, and obviously before we start comparing the dynasties, we probably got to let them win a second ring. And I think the short answer to your question is it's hard to say that they compare to some of those teams because they only have one All-Star, right? He's about to be a 3-time MVP. No offense, Oklahoma, or Dallas for that matter. But
luckily, no one in Oklahoma or in Dallas listens to this podcast. Tim, you're good.
But Joker is like, I had somebody say to me, well, you can't make Joker a 3-time MVP in 4 years. Like that would put him in the company of like Bird and Magic and all these guys. And I'm like, okay, but he is one of the all-time greats. Like that's not going to age poorly. He belongs in that kind of company. But they don't have another all-star on that roster. Now, kind of with an asterisk, because Jamal Murray last year during that playoff run, and Jamal Murray in previous playoff runs has played at a superstar level. He's just never been either healthy enough or put up the numbers to be an all-star during the regular season. But I think the thing with the Nuggets, is they have, and Chris Finch said this before they played, the Timberwolves coach. They have the starting five that fits the best in the NBA. They've found pieces that fit so well around Joker and, again, just compliment him, enhance him, know how to play off him. Aaron Gordon has gone from being the guy in Orlando on a mediocre team to one of the best, I call him a star role player, right? You're never running offense through him, but he plays so well. He ties everything together defensively. He's become one of the best cutters in the league, which when you play with Joker is so critical. KCP, keep championship players, Rob Pelinka, one of the better 3-and-D players in the league, just such a perfect fit. Give Calvin Booth credit, Tim Connolly before that, for finding guys who really fit around their superstar and or around their star duo, Jamal Murray, and obviously the Murray Joker 2-man game. I mean, what other duo in the league are you looking at that either guy can be running can be the ball handler in the pick and roll, and you're equally terrified?
Looking at the Eastern Conference, I guess there's only one question to ask is, can anyone challenge the Celtics? Do you think anyone can realistically knock them off?
Well, no is the is the one word answer. Interestingly, I think their biggest challenge might be in the first round. And obviously, we're recording this before Heat Sixers. But either way, and the Heat have not been very good this year, let's just be honest. But they won more games than they did last year. And we saw what they did last year. And you always are like, whether playoff Jimmy materializes or not, it's like if you stay in the Skirvin Hotel, you're looking around for ghosts the whole time, right? You are going to be scared. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the history is terrifying. And then, the 76ers, they're not a 7 seed. They landed there because Embiid missed 2 months. They're 31-8 when Embiid played this year. I mean, they were, they were on a 60+ win pace. So strange as it is, the Celtics, by far the most wins in the league, and their toughest matchup, at least until the finals, is probably going to be in the first round.
Impact, you think, with Giannis in Milwaukee? What do you think's going on there?
And that doesn't sound good. It sounds like, or what Woj has reported, is maybe later in the series. Obviously, the thing you're really worried about there, like forget this series. We've seen a superstar rush back from a lower calf injury during the playoffs, and the fact when Giannis was hurt and then the MRI results the next day, it was, whew, hey, the Achilles is fine. That's awfully concerning, right? Because like I said, we saw what happened with KD. It was a lower calf thing, and I spent 8 years in college, no medical degree, but you understand all those things are connected. And he tore his Achilles. So Giannis, his ability to recover from stuff is remarkable, but man, that's not one that you really want to take any risk with. And the Bucks have been just a total mess all season. I mean, they were the most dysfunctional 30-13 team in NBA history. Adrian Griffin got run out of there. They bring in proven championship coach Doc Rivers, who is sub 500 in Milwaukee. Damian Lillard's had a rough year for a wide variety of reasons. He has not looked like himself lately. And they certainly need him to be, full-blown Dame time superstar, at least early in this series and probably throughout the playoffs to have any hope of doing anything. But another one and done for the Bucks at this point, you can't consider it shocking. And if that happens, the obvious question is then what?
Last one I have for you, Tim. What do you think success looks like for the Oklahoma City Thunder in the 2024 playoffs?
I'm just trying to figure out what meal we're on. Like, we've blown by lunch, haven't we?
Are we? It's like the awkward snack in between lunch and dinner. Is that where we're at?
I guess I'll tell you what though, breakfast, it was like a Sunday brunch. It was the most delicious breakfast that I've ever
Mimosas.
experienced. Um, okay, first of all, this is already successful, right? Because this is a franchise that is kind of in the final stages of the this is kind of like the final year of the rebuild with a ton of ammo still to come. But in terms of obviously there was some tanking. Last year was a return to respectability, and boom, here you are. You're the number one seed, the youngest number one seed ever. That's success. They were so successful that anything short of a conference finals run will feel disappointing, which is a testament to just how good this season has been and just how good this group is. And look, man, the Thunder are going to be one of the most fascinating teams, one of the best teams in the league for years to come. But everybody in the NBA has their eyes on Sam Presti. Like, how are you going to use all these picks? Are you going to take a big swing in the trade market, or are you going to quote unquote cash them in? He might just keep kicking them down the road. And no, we don't want 4 picks in a year. We don't need to take a swing at a superstar. They've got a star trio in place. The Thunder have a legitimate chance to be a contender for the next 5 years and pick in the lottery every year in that span. I mean, it is ridiculous the possibilities and the flexibility that comes along with the stockpile of picks that they have. I think they are. I still think they are a modern power forward away from being able to break all the way through and have a little parade down that canal. I made my maiden voyage to the Tipsy Tiki the other day, by the way. I don't know if you.
Oh, nice. How'd it
I don't
go?
know it went well. My boy Big Rich put me on scholarship there, so that was always a good thing. So that's why I had to give him a shout out. But I do think they're a modern power forward away from a championship parade type of possibilities, but you never know.
In case we don't have you on again,
I
we
like it.
got to get a finals prediction. Who's in the finals? Who wins the whole thing?
Well, boys, I'm really going out on a limb here. I'm going to say the Celtics are going to make it against the Nuggets. And I picked the Nuggets. I think I went Nuggets over Bucks to start the season, which was a bad pick. But I'm sticking with the Nuggets. Nuggets repeating. Joker kind of cementing that he's not just an all-time great, but he's nearing that one of those upper tiers. And so yeah, I'm gonna say the Denver repeats.
How dare you not pick the Thunder to win it all? What is wrong
Listen,
with you?
hey, if you had me on last week, I absolutely would have picked the OKC Blue to win the G League title, and I would have been correct.
Banners hang forever, Tim. Let's
There
go.
you go.
Hey, yeah, you're the man. Hopefully we get to see a little bit here in Oklahoma City throughout the playoffs. Appreciate the time, buddy. Thank you.
All right, I think I'll be seeing you boys in the second round. Make sure the Thunder get there.